Ethereum price making a major move on the charts right now, a move that many out there said would not happen in this crypto bull market, because this move signifies a major shift is taking place right now in crypto, and we are about to see some significant changes coming in over the next days and weeks because of this move. In this video, I'm going to explain to you exactly why this move is so significant, and I'm going to tell you what it means for the altcoins you're holding. I'm also going to tell you about the various different signals that are flashing on all of the key charts right now that show that we are about to enter into an incredibly exciting time in crypto, one that I think you're going to want to remember. Do me a favor, hit that like button. Let's get into today's video. Now guys, as we jump across to the Ethereum chart right now, we can see that Ethereum from earlier lows today is up a whopping 6.3%. And if you've been around in crypto for more than 24 hours, you're going to say to yourself, 6.3% isn't really much of a big deal. That's not really going to make any difference to my crypto portfolio. And you could be right, but why is this so significant is not just because of the move that Ethereum is making, but it's more about the move that other cryptos are not making. And let me show you this. You see Bitcoin right now, since the 5th of February, has ranged between highs around 100k and gone down to lows of 94k. Bitcoin has been range bound by about 6% for the last 13 days. I can't even remember a time where the price action has been this boring on Bitcoin. And as we look at this pattern that I've been talking about for the last 2 weeks on the chart, we can see that this support line is still intact and Bitcoin continues to print this ascending triangle, indicating that we are in an uptrend and we will see continuation sooner rather than later. But I know what you're thinking. We've seen loads of other altcoins having some really good days and it hasn't really meant much for us. So why is this Ethereum move so important for us? Well, throughout this last few years, I've been showing you this path to altcoin season, where we see Bitcoin phase moving into an Ethereum phase, moving into altcoin phases. And throughout this bull market, we've been kind of confused because we've been having some of these mini altcoin seasons where we've seen real world assets pumping, like Ondo and Mantra. We've seen AI coins having an absolute storm at certain points of time, meme coins even. And this has led us to believe that we maybe won't see a conventional path to altcoin season like we've seen in the past. But I actually think that we are now in a conventional path to altcoin season. And all of those mini altcoin seasons we've been experiencing so far are simply because this time there are far more players in the crypto markets. Far more people jumping on the horse, getting ready to go and buy into different altcoins at any chance they get. And which is why we've seen various mini altcoin seasons take place when there's been some positive news in the markets. But up until this point, however, and why all of those mini altcoin seasons have been unsustainable until now is because of the lack of liquidity in the markets. I talked about this on a video I made the other day, that liquidity, not the news, the liquidity alone is the driver behind crypto bull markets. And once the liquidity reaches certain levels, we can move down the path towards altcoin season, where we move from Bitcoin into Ethereum, into the large caps, and then on. And yes, we have seen various other altcoins out there having great times. Sui, for example, Solana particularly because of the growth of meme coins. And why have we seen the growth of meme coins? Well, partly because of the opportunity that they created, allowing lots of people out there with influence to go and create their own meme coins and push meme coins on people, but more importantly because there are loads of retail investors who are in the bull market much earlier than normal, who are out there looking for something to do. So if you found yourself bored and you've gone after meme coins, that's probably the role that meme coins have played, in my opinion. So have they stolen liquidity from the markets? Not really, because the liquidity that is going to drive this full altcoin season that's coming down the line isn't going to be driven by all the retailers and whatever who are here right now. It's going to be money that's going to be driven in as we progress into the actual bull market. So now I can get my breath back. Why is this Ethereum move so important? Well, hopefully you're starting to understand this, that the liquidity that comes into the market causes Bitcoin to pump, and then it will start to pump the other coins down the list. And more importantly, this time, as that money floods into the market, it's going to be coming in a more sustainable fashion. We haven't so far had enough money to support all the different ecosystems at once, which is why we see real world assets pumping and then the money washes across to AI and whatever else, seeing pumps and dumps and feeling like this is a narrative driven bull market with narrative driven altcoin seasons. But once we start to see the liquidity really flooding into the markets, it's going to give a more sustainable pump for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then the altcoins underneath it. So looking across at the Ethereum chart right now, what have we got going on? Well, we are still maintaining this support line here that we've been in since back in November 2023. And you could argue that maybe Ethereum is creating a similar pattern to what we're seeing on the Bitcoin chart. And in fact, after this massive, major liquidation event that happened in Ethereum the other day, we're likely to see some form of continuation towards this area here. Once that happens, then Ethereum will be forced to break out of this pattern in the same way that it always does. It just feels like Ethereum has massively underperformed because there's other altcoins out there that have stolen a bit of the limelight. But as we know, retail investors have not had the money or the liquidity to pump up altcoins, particularly altcoins with market caps as big as Ethereum. And here's a really significant chart. Now, we talked about this the other day, Ethereum versus Bitcoin. As we can see on the Ethereum versus Bitcoin chart, which shows the percentage of Ethereum versus the Bitcoin price, okay, so you can see right now it's around 3%, we can see that we're in an area that Ethereum was at literally the time that it started the last altcoin season. The last altcoin season happened in the last week of December 2020. Okay, the last few days, Ethereum versus Bitcoin, it bottomed out in this area. I made a video the other day when it was in this area saying that this was probably the easiest, best trade available, and what confirms it even more is this bullish divergence. At the bottom, you have an increase in the RSI, which is the relative strength index, versus a decrease in the price. This ultimately will tell us that we are about to see a reversal happening in the ETH BTC, and yes, as you can see, we have had a major wick towards the downside, a little candle in there, and now starting to push towards the upside once more. On the flip side of things, Solana, which many people, including myself at points, thought was maybe now going to be the phase 2 of altcoin season, is versus Ethereum forming a massively bearish pattern right now. You can see that it's moved towards the upside. It had a massive wick towards the upside like this, showing huge weakness. The price has then been sold off quite aggressively. At the same time, we have what's called a bearish divergence, where price is going up and yet it's getting weaker each and every time. When this happens, typically we are ready for a significant correction. Now, I talked about this earlier on over on Twitter. So if you're not following me on Twitter, make sure you are. It's House of Crypto 3 with the blue check mark. I'll leave a link for this down below. Make sure you give me a follow, okay? Because I'm talking about what's going on over there far more regularly than I can over on YouTube, because obviously it takes a long time to make YouTube videos. Now, after I made posts about this chart over on Twitter, people were saying, well, does that mean that Solana's dead and we're not going to see any upside for Solana? Absolutely not. But it does mean that Solana is possibly going to slow down a little bit versus Ethereum in the short term. Remember, in the path to altcoin season, we have Bitcoin, Ethereum, large caps. Solana, very much a large cap, okay? It's confused us a little bit during this time because maybe it's outperformed the market because maybe of meme coins and whatever else. So what could we expect to happen? Well, maybe this chart sees a correction down to something like this and then sees a continuation. So this could indicate and maybe be a key indicator for us, telling us that we're going to move from phase 2 into phase 3. But right now, we're in the very first stages of phase 2. Okay, very first stages of phase 2, the Ethereum move versus Bitcoin. So what are the signals flashing to us right now? And I know, I told you there's a signal flashing, and you're like, okay, I don't know what that means, but it sounds enticing. Ultimately, I'm showing you that there are signals that are indicating something exciting. I use the word flashing because it does sound much more interesting. And I'm sorry if you feel that you've been clickbaited because of this, but you haven't, okay? Because this is actually incredibly important right now, and it is showing us something really, really exciting. Okay, so now we can look across at some other charts that have flashing signals. Bitcoin dominance, as you can see on the top, has been rising towards the upside and put in a very important wick like this the other day, where it climbed up to like 64%. Admittedly, this caught me off guard, and it caught a lot of people off guard. We saw a huge dump off in a lot of altcoins around this period of time, particularly Ethereum, which then got bought up incredibly aggressively, showing us that that was clearly where big money was trying to accumulate more. You can track Donald Trump and Donald Trump's investment fund investing in Ethereum, $5 to $10 million every single day. This is what these transactions are here. Meanwhile, you can see all the sentiment out there has been horrible, and everyone's like, oh, well, it's over for Ethereum and whatever else. All you've got to do is jump across to DeFiLlama.com and you can go and check on Ethereum. You can see some of the volume. On some days, still doing like $3, maybe even $5 billion of volume. This is telling you right now that Ethereum is still getting huge amounts of usage. If you come down below, you can go and look at the TVL, and you can track some of the TVL, which is total value locked, the growth of some of the applications built on Ethereum. This is a great way to go and check the health of the chain, if you like. Okay, so what we can see here down below is all of the different decentralized applications built on top of Ethereum. If you think of Ethereum and other blockchains like Avalanche and Sui and whatever as digital cities, applications are all the services that are built in those cities, like restaurants and shops, etc. Okay, if the city has a lot of thriving restaurants and shops, then the city tends to be thriving as well. You go to somewhere like Dubai, you probably feel like it's a thriving place with lots of shops, lots of people out shopping, great restaurants, etc. If you go to London, that used to have great restaurants and lots of stuff going on, it's starting to feel like maybe it's not a great place to be. So when you're trying to check whether you should invest in the ecosystem, think about what the ecosystem needs to make it like an exciting place to be. So as you look to DeFi Llama, we can see a lot of these protocols underneath have been going up. They've been gathering a lot of money in the last few days. This is Eigenlayer, $12.9 billion, up 4% in the last 7 days. All of these are up significantly. $4.8 billion. Spark, now up 8.6% in the last 7 days. Significant moves are happening on Ethereum right under our noses. So after that major sell-off, where people and smart money was loading up on Ethereum and most people out there were panic selling, running for the hills, we suddenly saw a massive reversal in the Bitcoin dominance. So there are many people still out there waiting for crypto to go lower, but because we saw mass hysteria and panic here, I genuinely don't think that it's going to go much lower. And in fact, we are now printing a very bearish divergence on the Bitcoin dominance. Because as you can see, looking down below, we have a high here and a lower high down here. Meanwhile, on here, you have a higher high in price. Higher high in price, lower in terms of weakness. Think about it like this. As you're running up a hill, towards the top of the hill, its chances are that you'll slow down because you start to run out of energy. Think of price like this. Right now, we're seeing the price going towards the upside. If you go and put in a sprint at the end of that run towards the upside, there's a chance that you're going to lose a lot of that strength. The strength comes down, indicating that you're slowing down, if not coming to a stop. As soon as that happens, this will start to tank. And as we start to see this selling off towards the downside, which we will, and it's going to start to happen very, very quickly because of what we're seeing on this Ethereum chart right now. And it's not just the Ethereum chart. It's not just the Bitcoin dominance or the Bitcoin price that are showing us. There are so many charts that are pointing to the exact same thing happening right now. This is the total 3, which is the whole market cap of crypto minus Bitcoin and Ethereum. This is effectively the altcoins. You can see that we've had a big liquidity grab towards the downside, which was that major fear event the other day. We can now see crypto is showing strength in this area. What else do we see? If we go across to the USDT dominance, and this represents the percentage of crypto that is in USDT. So when this is moving down, ultimately, we're going to see altcoins, Bitcoin, etc. going up. As you can see, since back on the 20th of January, the Donald Trump inauguration, we have seen this going up. We saw crypto basically going down after that event. Now we're starting to see this liquidity grab is complete on this side of things. As you can see, we have the supply, which is above previous resistance. So the price goes up above previous resistance, it takes out the supply, and now it starts to sell off. This is a very, very key point to know. And I'll show it to you on the DXY, which is the dollar index. Often out there, people will say, oh, it's broken above previous resistance. It's broken resistance. It's just going to carry on its way. Actually, what you're seeing here is supply and demand take place. Down here, for example, you have demand. Every time the dollar index reaches this area, it's the same for crypto, it's the same for anything, then people will buy it up. Every time it gets into the demand zone, chances are it will come back down lower. What we can see right now is DXY getting rejected in the demand zone and now starting to threaten to break lower. If the DXY sells off very aggressively, and we can see Donald Trump right now is trying to weaken the dollar, then we are going to see crypto go absolutely crazy. Everything we've waited for, we've just had to wait a little bit longer. We got a lot of false hope over the last kind of year or so that's made us a bit too bullish, a little bit too early, but things are exactly as they should be right now. Things are about to get much better. What does this mean for your altcoins? Well, it means that we are now confirming really that we're on a traditional path to altcoin season. Bitcoin pump, Ethereum pump, large caps pump, altcoins pump, smaller cap altcoins pump. Okay, so as confidence returns to the market, and it will, it's just 1 or 2 big candles away, things are going to get very, very exciting indeed. Just remember, throughout this last year or so, if you found yourself buying the tops when you've been hyped up and euphoric and you've been selling the dips and whatever, write down what you've been doing wrong. Make sure that you learn lessons from things that you've done, and that should stand you in good stead, because this next phase of the bull market, it will be the final phase. It will be aggressive, it will be exciting, and it will be very difficult if you are unable to manage your emotions. Remember, all of your errors come from emotions rather than being sensible and thinking logically. Now, if you are looking to load up on altcoins because you're starting to get that FOMO, I would say that, not financial advice, of course, that FOMOing in around now is probably the last time you're going to be able to FOMO in. I personally, after these legs up, will not be adding more money to these crypto markets. In fact, once markets start to pump on over the next month or so, I'll be pulling money out of crypto markets rather than adding more. And that's what I've been doing. Okay, I've just been adding money over the last few years, and then I want to take out as we move into that kind of final phase. It doesn't mean that it's not going to go much bigger. We're going to go a huge amount bigger. It's just going to be the final phase, and it's time where you start to de-risk. I'll tell you more about that as we move on through these crypto markets, and I'll tell you more exit strategies. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you want to know exactly when I'm going to be selling my altcoins, when I'm going to be exiting these markets. Now, if you wish to be buying altcoins, then I highly recommend that you do it through a non-KYC exchange like Bitunix. This means you don't have to register your own personal details. It's one of the cheapest exchanges out there. It has a huge amount of different altcoins, smaller cap altcoins specifically. Also, you can go and trade on WEEX. Between WEEX and Bitunix, you can get huge amounts of different altcoins. You can see there's over 600 pairs on WEEX, and they have 0% maker fees, which means it's effectively free to trade, compared with doing it on Coinbase or Binance, which are pretty expensive and have a very limited number of altcoins. I use WEEX, I use Bitunix, I use MEXC every single day. Make sure you sign up for those accounts down below. Have a few different exchanges. It never hurts, in my opinion. Guys, hope you enjoyed that video. Do me a favor, hit that like button. We're about to go significantly higher in crypto. Things are about to get exciting once more. Thank you for sticking with me over the last few months of boring moves in crypto. Hopefully it's been beneficial for you. Thanks for watching. Have a great week. See you soon. Bye-bye.